Hello, welcome to Nakti by Kali j.N.S. And today we continue with the Black American series. And the topic of today is, what is the phenotype of the Black American? Or in other words, what does a Black American look like? And the reason that we are covering such a topic is so that the Black American can understand themselves better by engaging in further cultural building. Because when you're able to distinguish your look, this is how you're able to recognize one another in a split second. We also want to understand the look of the subcultures among us, such as the Geechee, which is also referred to as the Gullah, and the Creole, which is also a subgroup within Black American culture. So we want to concretize our culture as much as possible, and I argue that understanding your phenotype is crucial to that cultural building, because you need to be able to distinguish yourself from sleeper cells who act like Black Americans, and you need to be able to recognize your group apart from other groups in the diaspora. So for instance, in Senegal, there's a tribe called the Wolof tribe. This group is known for being really tall and for their beautiful dark skin. So we're talking about like the darkest of skin. And when you see them, you're often able to recognize that they are from the Wolof tribe. And I have always guessed it correctly anytime I ran into one of them, because they have a very distinct look to me. Also, you can look at the nose of a Ghanaian and a Nigerian, and you can tell the difference just from the nose structure. And same with, like, say someone within Nigeria, say someone's from the Fulani tribe and then someone's from the Igbo tribe, you most likely will know the difference. So it is the same for the Black American, and it is crucial that we start to be able to recognize one another, because we have had problems within our group with people acting like they're Black Americans, coming among us and trying to blend in only to undermine us and disrespect us. And then when we do a background check on them, we find out that they are not Black American at all, that they have no ties to our lineage, and that they are acting like a Black American while taking our benefits, using up resources that are for Black Americans that my ancestors died for, while disrespecting our lineage and calling themselves looking down on us. So what we're going to do is do a comparison of the Black American and various groups in the diaspora, so that we can understand our features and so that we can understand their features, so that we're able to recognize them in a respectful manner as well. And if you're watching this video, just know that there will be no texturism, no featureism, no colorism. That is not the point of this video. This video is solely to get the Black American to recognize themselves, to appreciate their beauty and the beauty of the people that they're going to also see in this video. So once again, no one will be disrespected based on looks, because that would be very shallow, and no one will be pitted against one another. This is simply a video to show the distinct features of various groups in the African diaspora, and we're also going to be able to learn, what does the Black American look like? What is their average texture? You're going to be learning about even my family. You're going to be learning about various groups, such as, like I said, the Gullah, the Creole, and you're going to have a good time. So let's start with the first exhibit of understanding the phenotype. So here you see a picture of Black Americans, and you see a picture of Haitians. Now, you can see the average nose type. The average nose of a Black American is a bull, like a bull tip, and it has lots of meat, like lots of fat inside of the nose. And you can see the comparison to how the Haitian looks, which tends to be darker in skin color, I think they have less bone in their nose, because their nose does not have as much fat in the tip. So as you can see, you have the Haitians, and they have their unique look, and you have the Black American and their unique look, and one is not better than the other. It's just, you should know the difference between how a Haitian looks and a Black American. So let's move on. We see these cute kids in the picture. This is once again a Black American kid and a Haitian kid. Now you see this Haitian kid, a gorgeous Black baby girl, and then you see the Black American, gorgeous Black baby girl, and you once again You could see the nose is clearly different, and even the eyes. The eyes are different. The Haitian has more of an almond-shaped eye. So let's keep going. Once again, this is the last picture of the of understanding the difference between a Black American and a Haitian. We see the Jackson 5, which we are all pretty much familiar with. We all grew up hearing about the Jackson 5, and we're just looking at once again a group of Haitians. Now, once again, you could see the difference in skin, you could see the difference in features, you could see the difference in eyes, and we should be able to know that if we see someone with this particular phenotype, that they most likely would be Haitian. You should be able to recognize them, you should be able to recognize yourself, and you should see, okay, if you see one of these people come up amongst us, obviously you're going to be respectful and you're not going to care that they're Haitian. But if they're disrespectful, then you should automatically most likely know that they're not a Black American. And if they are loving and kind, then obviously it will be reciprocated. So that is the reason why we're doing this series. So now that you see the difference between a Haitian and a Black American, you should know your features. So let's keep going. So now we're doing Senegalese. So we was just talking about the Wolof tribe. I don't know what tribe Akon is from, because I have not seen him in person, but he has very, very a rich, deep complexion, which is a beautiful complexion. And now you see this guy, he is an actor, but I forgot his name. But you see this Black American, and you see this guy from Senegal, which is Akon, and you should know that this guy from Senegal is not a Black American. Now, Akon came among our culture, and he made this song called Locked Up. He did a video and everything. And we all thought he was a weird character, to be honest. Like, we liked the song Locked Up, They Won't Let Me Out. Remember that? And we used to sing it, and it was a good song, and we thought, okay, the voice was kind of weird or whatever, you know, that's not really how Black Americans sing, but nobody cared. But as a kid, I always knew, I'm like, something is off with him. And nothing is off with him in the sense that there's something wrong with him. It's just that he is not a Black American, and he come amongst the culture to portray himself as a Black American when he should have announced that he was Senegalese. And we should have been able to tell that immediately, that he was not a Black American. Like, we should have been like, oh, he's a guy from Senegal. Years later was when it came out, when he started doing the initiative in Africa with China, and that's when pretty much the cat was out of the bag as far as him being Senegalese. But for a long time, nobody knew that, and I feel like that's very problematic. I feel like it's nothing wrong with him being Senegalese. I just feel like we should know that as Black Americans. Like, we should have known that, and I feel like it's the same with a lot of people in the Black diaspora, with coming among us and just acting like they're Black Americans, and they're not. And it is a problem, and we should gatekeep our culture more until we get a lot more respect and appreciation from these other groups. Again, these groups are notorious for disrespect of Black Americans, and the only way that we can end that is to just basically ignore and separate ourselves if it's necessary. Again, my people started Pan-Africanism, and we are not the ones that caused a lot of this rift, and I'm going to prove to you how we weren't the ones. And I already proved it in a video that I already have up called Black Americans versus Africans, in the NSARS video, where I proved clear as day that there is no equivalency of disrespect towards Africans the same way they have disrespected us. And I proved it in black and white, where it cannot be disputed, and I will be doing it again. And again, we could have all united and been one and not had to go through all of this. Had we not been dealing with sleeper cells, people who undermine us, people who are ravenously jealous of us, people who are acting like us, benefit off of us, stealing parts of our culture, we would have been able to just unite and not care about that had those things not have happened. But since it's just so widespread, I feel like, oh no, it needs to stop, and we need to kind of concretize our culture, come amongst each other as one, as Black Americans, and take care of ourselves first, understand ourselves first, and then be able to respect other people, which we already are, be able to respect all other groups in the diaspora by recognizing our diversity and appreciating those differences, and not having to feel like we have to compare ourselves to other groups and degrade one another based off of what country or what tribe they come from. I find that very disturbing that Black people would even engage in such idiocracy, but they are. So I have proven that, and I will prove it again, of people literally comparing themselves to our group for no reason. And that is why I did the Black American series, so that we can understand our own culture and understand our own look. So we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives, as far as being appreciative of ourselves and building up our own confidence, as well as, again, always having that a heart for the rest of the diaspora, because the Black American always had, a big love and big acceptance of other groups of Africans, as far as wherever they come from. They said, about the African booty scratcher thing when we were kids, that they complain about that. I think that was the only thing that we have done. I know for a fact that I was called African booty scratcher, and I called other Black Americans a booty scratcher. So to me, that's not even a big deal, because no one says that in adulthood. And I'm gonna prove to you the stuff they be saying in adulthood. And if you want to go check out some very heinous treachery, go to that Black American versus African video, and you're gonna see the stuff that they pull behind our backs in black and white, and you will see the accurate thought process, consciousness towards our group. And after you see it, you will be thinking just like me. You're not going to be all gung-ho. You're not going to be disrespectful or deny African ancestry, but you're going to pump your brakes against really being in support of a group of people who have utter hatred for you. So let's continue. So now again, we see another picture of a Black American and a Senegalese man. Now this is Chris Rock. We all know him. We all was raised, knowing our brother. We always appreciated him and respected him. And now we have a Senegalese guy. Again, when I was telling you about that rich dark skin, these people are known for that dark skin because they are so close to that sun. The sun is beaming really heavily on Senegal in comparison to other parts in Africa. Of course, Sudan is also known for very, very dark skin. Kenya is also known for very, very dark skin. But I feel like Senegalese may be darker than Kenyans. People say that Kenyans are the darkest, and I have not seen it. If you want to know my background, I've hung around plenty of Africans, including Senegalese and Kenyan. So I'm not just ignorant of other cultures. I'm just not. And again, I will be able to prove that in our last video. So once again, if you see someone that comes among you that looks like this Senegalese guy, you should know off that they're not a Black American. So a lot of this stuff that we have seen in our culture from other groups of people pretending to be us is really our fault, because there should have been no way that we should see someone like, say, a Kodak Black and not know that that's not a Black American. Like, I knew that he was not a Black American as soon as he opened his mouth. Or even 21 Savage, like, I just knew that he was not a Black American. Like, I don't see how y'all did not know that. So you want to be able to know your distinct look. So there's, once again, you can see that nose on Chris Rock where it's full, and there's fat in the tip of the nose, and there's dusky brown skin. So you should be able to see that skin texture and know that that's most likely a Black American, and even that hair texture. So let's keep going. Now we have a Jamaican, a Black American and a Jamaican. Now the Jamaicans, they come in various colors, they come in various looks, but what I will say is a lot of Jamaicans, they have like a slanty eye, because a lot of people don't know this, but there was a group of Chinese that was shipped over there like a long time ago. From what I understand, the Chinese that went over there, they went over there as workers. They didn't go over there as like the dominant class or anything. And they did mingle a lot with the Jamaicans over there. Also, there was an Indian class that went over there as well as workers, and even some as prominent Indians. And Of course, there were already Jamaicans over there, and there were Africans brought over there. So the Jamaican does have a distinct look. But I will say that usually you can tell them by clothing, hairstyle, and again, that real slanty eye, which is slanty eye is also found in Black American culture, but you will see that slanty eye a lot more because a lot of Jamaicans do have Chinese admixture and African admixture. So it can be confusing to tell the difference between the two, but obviously if they have an accent, you would know immediately. But if they don't have the accent and they're second generation or just they've been here for a long time, you may not be able to tell. But usually through the thought process and there's those eyes and the clothing, you're going to be able to tell the difference. So as you can see, this Black American and this Jamaican, once again, you see that real slanty eye. That most likely is he's most likely mixed with a Chinese admixture that could be as old as 200 years in his bloodline. So that is a Jamaican and a Black American. We also have again another Jamaican and a Black American. Again, this is much harder. You still see somewhat of that slanty eye, but you really would not be able to tell. But me personally, I can tell that from her features and just the jawline, and that this is not a Black American woman. I would have thought that she was mixed with West Indian immediately. That I could tell she's Caribbean. That's just me though. But if you cannot tell, you can see the comparison, which is Gabrielle. The nose. I mean, you should be able to just kind of look and see the difference between the noses and the jaws, and you should be able to see that is a person of Caribbean descent. Even if you can't say that, is she Jamaican, you should know that this person is Caribbean. So now again, we have another Jamaican and Black American. This Jamaican is most likely, I don't want to say coolie, but she's black obviously, but she looks like to have some Indian admixture in her face to me. But this is, again, you should be able to tell that this is a Caribbean woman. Like, you can see the difference. And I don't want to say skin color because the skin color is quite a lot of Black people have that skin color, but just the texture of the skin. The texture of this skin is different than what you will find in the Black American. It's kind of like say like Dominicans have a different texture than the skin of a Black American, even if the skin color is the same. The texture of the skin is different. It's more of like this sandy, a sandy type undertone, or a very red undertone to the skin. Like it's hard to explain, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And even if you, for instance, let me just tell you this: you'll see like a real dark Dravidian Indian. That's real dark, right? And it could be the same skin color as, say, someone from Sudan. But you will know through the texture of those two skins that there are different tribes or different groups of people. So what I'm saying with this young lady here is her skin texture is different than, say, someone in Black American culture. Again, not skin color, just skin texture. And once again, we have a Jamaican and a Black American. Now, these are obviously two very famous people that we know. We have Aaliyah and Naomi Campbell. And once again, that slanty eye. Now, Naomi Campbell does have Chinese admixture. That is a fact. Again, the Chinese went over there so long ago, so they're not claiming like, oh, I'm Chinese, even though a lot of them literally do have Chinese ancestors. And I have ran into Chinese Jamaicans before that have been over there for hundreds of years. They migrated over here, and I swear I was blown away by seeing a Chinese person with straight up Jamaican accent, Jamaican clothing, Jamaican everything, and seeing them clearly be East Asian, but they were darker because of that sun over there. But it was really confusing to see that, and I was just like, what in the world? And he was just talking and with that Jamaican accent, and I was just like, whoa. So they're still over there. There are Chinese that's still over there that still obviously look Chinese, but through mixture and through generations, some Black people do now have that slanty eye over there in Jamaica. So once again, you can see the difference in the features. These are both very, very beautiful women that we both love dearly, but we're not going to sit up there and act like they look the same. So now we move on to, again, another example. We see the beautiful Grace Jones, and we just see Black American women. And once again, you should be able to tell the different features. And then now we have one last example. And this is a Jamaican and a Black American. It says Ice Cube. We know who that is. And I think that this is will.i.am. I'm not sure. I know he's very famous. And once again, we should know the difference between the two. Now, I don't know if Jamaicans, they have like a fuller lip or a thinner lip, but just these Jamaicans that I showed you, I noticed that their lip was a lot thinner. So Black Americans may have bigger lips. I'm not sure how you'll be able to tell, but you should be able to know, like, just based off these pictures that I showed you, there's clearly a huge difference. So that is the Jamaicans. So now let's go to another group, and this will be the Nigerians. So you could look at the Black Americans, and you can look at the Nigerians, and you should definitely be able to distinguish yourself from this group. The Nigerian, to me, it seems like their nose is more pointy and more triangular, like a triangular nose with less fat in the tip of their nose. And I will show to you that they have like a more the word define is not the correct term. More sharpness in the nose. I'm not sure how to, but it's like a triangle nose, that which means that there's not as much fat in the tip. So as you can see this picture of these Black Americans, and you see how they look as far as like the difference in the nose. The nose is fuller. You should be able to tell the difference. Let's go to another picture. This is the same theme where we have multiple people, but they are different people, as you can see. And once again, that pointy tip of the nose, like that triangular nose of the Nigerian. So you should be able to see the difference between the Nigerian and the Black American. You could clearly see the difference. Like, you should, if someone looks, if these people came among me, I would know that they're not Black American. Let's keep going. Once again, these were the twin Nigerian brothers and a Black American. Once again, that nose, you see the difference in the nose, and you see how it's more like a pointy nose, and you see how like the tip of their nose doesn't have as much fat in it compared to the Black American. You should be able to see that difference. You should be able to see that skin texture is different. Even if we have the same skin color, the skin texture is different. So you should be able to see. So you should be able to tell a Black American from a Nigerian just based off of these pictures that I'm showing you. And here we have the last one. Once again, this is a Nigerian, and this is a Black American. It's a very famous Black American woman named Sierra, and you should be able to tell the difference. And this is a very famous picture of a Black American, Jay-Z, and I think this guy is an actor too, or he's very famous in Nigeria, but I don't know his name. But there was a lot of pictures of him. I think he might be a politician, but I mean, I'm not sure. But anyways, you should be able to see the difference between these two people. Like, this guy clearly does look Nigerian, and Jay-Z clearly has the different features. Once again, more thicker nose, more thicker lips. So you should a different skin color and texture. So you should be able to tell the difference between these two people. And here's just in a general sense of Black Americans and Africans. So once again, you should be able to tell the difference. It should be obvious. It is very obvious to them. That's why they tell us all the time, you are not African. You are not part of our lineage, and you have been removed for 600 years at least. We don't know why you guys are calling yourself African Americans. You're not true African. If you want to see those posts of them saying this, you can go on that video that I just told you, and I will be showing more receipts. But these people, even growing up, I've heard these people say it to my face that y'all, how are y'all African? Why are y'all calling yourselves African Americans? And that's offensive to them, because we are not Africans. So we are Americans with a very distinct admixture, and we are Black. Of African ancestry. We have African ancestry, but we are not these African Americans. And that's why all the confusion started, because when they came over here, then they become neutralized, or citizens. They're saying they're African Americans too. They're saying, well, we're the true African Americans. We're literally from Africa, and now we're American. And my kid is really an African American because they were born here and they're African. And so we were calling ourselves African Americans before they even got over here, because there was a term that Jesse Jackson made popular. I think that was all by design. I think that was all to cause confusion in the first place. I think he was just used as a pawn to do that. But before that, African Americans were not calling themselves that. We were calling ourselves black, colored. It just wasn't a big deal. But I guess they say, well, the correct term is call them African Americans because they're descendants of Africa. And that was fine, in the 60s or whatever. And then when all the Africans came over, that's when all the confusion started. And then people from the Caribbean, they're like, well, I'm from African descent too. So that may, even though I'm Jamaican, I could still get away with calling myself an African American, technically. And it was a mess. So I do not think that Black Americans should be calling themselves African Americans at all. I do not think that even Africans should be calling themselves that. I think that they should be known by their country of origin, like Ghanaian American, Nigerian American. I think that they should be known for that, because that's usually what they were doing anyways, because when they first came over here, they did not want to be associated with us, so they were calling themselves that. Then as far as getting into colleges and schools and programs, scholarships, they started using just Black American and African American, which caused so much confusion. And I do think that in order to distinguish ourselves, you should not be calling yourself African American. It does not even make any sense. And yes, you are of African ancestry, but you are not an African in that sense. They know that themselves. That's why they were picking on us. That's why they were saying how foolish you look trying to wear those African garbs and all that stuff and get all in our culture and stuff, because that just, like, you can't be removed 500 years from something and then think that you're just going to go back to it when you don't even know. You may have the haplogroup of where you come from. The EM2 haplogroup that is found in the Black American is found in various tribes in West Africa. It's found in the Gullah tribe, the Iwe tribe, the Akan tribe, even in Senegal, and all the tribes in Nigeria. So it would be really confusing still, even if you do say, well, I do know that I have an EM2 haplogroup in my genetics, so that means that I am from West Africa. That is true of the Black American, but you don't know which tribe, you don't know the customs, the food. I mean, you can study it, but it's just like, it's a mess. So that's why when they do give you your EM2 they do give you your haplogroup, they give you a region. They say, oh, you might come from the Mindi tribe, you might come from the Takir tribe, you might come, but they don't really know. Those genetic tests, they give you an estimate of which tribes you came from, or not even the tribe, but the group. So, you have 40% Nigerian. What does that even mean? And then you have the rest from Benin. Well, back in the day, before colonialism, Benin and Nigeria were not even delineated like that. They had different tribes, but the demarcation of that country did not even freaking exist, of those countries. So it's like, what? And all of that whole region was an empire, So, these genetic tests are weird as hell to me, because it's like Senegambia was multiple countries that we see now. They're split up in countries. That was just all one region. So of course you're gonna be mixed with Benin and Nigeria and Togo, and you're gonna be, of course, like, those people themselves is not even those Nigerians over there themselves is not 100% Nigeria. They have the same type of, oh you have a Ghanaian ancestor, you have someone, what? It was all a big ass region back in the day. So it's very confusing. And so what I would say for the Black American who wants to know their roots, your roots is within. Like, you are a being of the planet, and you are a soul within a human body. And yet we had a horrible history of someone trying to literally steal our identities and erase our identity, which is very disgraceful. But not on our parts. It has nothing to do with us. That's on the part of the people that have done it. That's the karma of the people who engage in such ridiculous practices. And like I said, there were already black people over here, and there were already, just like I said, there were black people in the Caribbean. So when you came over here, yes, there were black people that got mixed in. Those colored people that they were calling them at the time. They were not calling them black. And yes, the European decided to mix his bloodline in with those descendants of slaves, which are the black Americans. So those things that where we feel that sense of a void and that sense of belonging and acceptance, you have to accept yourself. You have to accept your true essence and embrace every facet of yourself and every part of your ancestry, because it is what makes up you now. And that's something that I'm learning, because a lot of us do not accept the admixture in our blood, because it's, for one, shameful. But I remember, like, I want to say 15 years ago, I met black people that showed me these papers that gave them proof of being in a tribe, and I seen them going to these groups with, you know, like Native Americans, and they were getting some type of benefits. Like, and these people were really tall, and they had those high cheekbones and them slanty eyes, but they were black Americans. Like, these were their children were my friends, and I seen them get, you know, going to the reservations and everything. I was like, what? So that is true. We were saying that, oh, we have a red grandmother, we have a red grandfather, he was red, which means like, oh, he was Native American. That person was not red. That person was a white man or a white woman. And that's something that we have struggled to admit and acknowledge. And it's, the proof is in the pudding. It happened in my family. I know people, I have friends who their grandparent, you know, 95 years old. You could clearly tell this is a biracial woman, right? And I asked my family, I asked my friends, what is your grandmother, you know, and they would tell me, her grandfather was red, or her mother was red, her father. So I had a friend whose grandmother was in her 90s, and when I could clearly look at this lady and tell that she was biracial. So then I asked my friend, I said, you know, what's your grandmother? She says her father was red, which means her father was Native American. Like, that's just what black people say, you know. And I was just looking like, that is just not true. Like, this lady was not was not half Native American and half black. She was half white and half black. And I said, well, show me the pictures. And they would show me the pictures, and you know, this stuff is in black and white. Oh yeah, you see that he was a Native American? No, I don't see it. So I know that's a very painful history. And even my friend, when we were talking one day, she said she knew. I said, well, why is y'all all just going along with it? And she told me, because there was a raping, and it wasn't, you know, like a consensual interracial relationship. So I guess, like, to deal with that pain, or to deal with, you know, that trauma, they just, and this happened in my family too. This happened in, I'm telling you, this is just every friend that I have, black American friend that I have, there's a mixed grandparent somewhere, right? Or just mixed elders, and then they will tell you that grandparent was red and that they parent was red, and then you start asking for the pictures, and you can clearly tell that those were white people. So I understand that pain, black American. This is what the ancestors told me, because I do have issues, you know, the same issues that we all have with coming to terms with the Holocaust and the actual eugenics that was practiced upon black Americans, as far as forcing themselves, as far as white people forcing themselves amongst the women. That's like a real painful thing to admit. It happened in Australia as well, and you're dealing with that pain too. But they don't have another group to just say that they mix with. So the black American, I'm dealing with that too. And even my ancestors have said the black American is not suffering just from self-hatred due to blackness. And I said, what? I swear, I'm not making this up. They said they're dealing with other identity crisis and self-hatred relating to having a forced upon European admixture that they did not ask for, that their ancestors did not ask for. And that was very, very profound to me, because I never thought about that. We always say, like, we know that a lot of Africans in the diaspora, and that goes for the Black American, this goes for the entire African diaspora, that we always talk about the self-hatred, the anti-blackness, the self-hatred due to feeling brainwashed against blackness. And that is a big thing across the whole globe of Africans, whether you're from Dominican, whether you're Haitian, Jamaican, of course in Africa. So that's a big thing. That's true. But they said the Black American is dealing, because if you notice, Black Americans don't have a problem saying they have African ancestry. They don't. Like, they always be proud to have African ancestry. So those ancestors told me straight up, they said the Black American is dealing with other self-hatred of not accepting themselves and being low-key, feeling on a subconscious level, because a lot of those ancestors still feel embarrassed. That's why they have to be elevated, and we have to heal on a multi levels. We have to heal on a molecular level. Our cells have to be healed, and we have to reconcile those identities as well as those ancestors themselves. So we're saying, we're African American, but you have white grandparents and white great grandparents that were slave owners. So that's painful to admit. And so that's why we say, those were Native Americans, when they were not. Some were. I'm not saying like the narrative is not true. I'm just saying it's over embellished and exaggerated. And what the ancestors told me is, how do you reconcile that pain as well? As far as, because they told me, you're not dealing, I'll just give you for me. I can't, but this is what they said about the diaspora, but I can only speak for me, right? They said, you're not dealing with the self-hatred of the African. Your self-hatred is coming from not coming to terms with the fact that you are part European. Now, I am not biracial. I'm not saying that. But if you notice, Black people will get shamed. But they said that's a part of that self-hatred. Because it's like, you can claim, okay, we are just as African as the Africans over there. And that's why they know that they think that we sound crazy. Because they know that that's just not true. And that is where that pain comes from. And Black Americans, you have to reconcile. Some of y'all don't feel pain. Some of y'all don't even think that hard about it or that deep about it. Don't even give a fuck. It's like, I'm here. It is what it is. You know, history is history. And oh well. So, and if that's you, then obviously I'm not talking about you. But I'm saying, as far as the collective consciousness of things that I have witnessed Black Americans say in regards to their admixture and identity growing up, I know for a fact that there's some pain around that area. And I do know that there is a collective effort to pretty much say, you know, when we ask each other, so what's your grandparent? We seeing these grandparents around here, you know, and we seeing these real light-skinned Black people around that are Black American, like generations of just being here in this country as well. And we're seeing, and we'd be like, so what's your grandparent? You know, just in talking, and then we'll see them say, they're red, their grandparent was red, and all this stuff. That's a part of that cover up of not dealing with that trauma. It is a traumatic thing. And we have used, say, that one Native American ancestor that most likely was part Black themselves, and we're using that Native American ancestor and saying that is the cause of how, the reason why we look the way we look. And so that's what we have to deal with, that we don't deal with. Even my mom, I'll show you my mom's skin texture, and the way she be talking, and I'll just be looking at her like, dude, like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, like, I'm like, if you went over to Africa right now, them people will not see you as no damn African. They will literally call you white to your face and tell you to keep it moving. You know, I mean, I'm more luckier where I could probably get over there and blend over, but like some of you Black Americans won't even be able to blend in at all. So we got to accept our true self and accept our essence now, regardless of the admixture, regardless of where it came from, and regardless of how it came. Today in 2021, we can make an effort to accept our ancestors and to elevate the ancestors, because some of us do have fucked up ancestry now because of the things that we went through, and because of the certain actions of particular ancestors. So now we're stuck with the trauma of those ancestors, and then now we have to actually elevate them and work on the healing process, or even separating ourselves from certain bloodlines that we don't want any ties to, so certain ancestors that we just are wicked, and we just don't want, we really want to get out of their loops, and we don't want their loops running through us as Black Americans anymore. So it's a big thing. Once again, this is a picture of me. This is my phenotype. Now I have a fuller nose, so I can blend in more, probably if I was to go to Africa or something, I don't know. But then you see a Native American ancestor. This is a Native American. This is not what caused your grandparents to look that damn white, Black Americans. And I also wanted to show you this because most likely, like this Native American in the middle was most likely enslaved. There were plenty of these people that were already over here that look like this, like these last two pictures, and they did get enslaved. Now we're going to talk about our subcultures within the Black American group. So this is the Geechee. Now we love the Geechee. We always grew up, knowing about Geechee, especially for us in the South. And some of us had Geechee cousins that will come and visit us. For those who left to the North, I remember seeing that. And so as you can see, the Geechee, basically, they were a group of people that were able to keep their African dialect. They remembered a lot of their culture. Now they were doing this because in North Carolina and South Carolina, they did bring a group of Africans from West Africa that they did not separate. And I don't know if they did that by accident. I don't know if they were clever enough to act like they spoke different languages or act like they weren't the same tribe. I'm not sure how it worked, because it was a known thing that when Africans come over here, that you mix them up, their tribes, that they should not be able to speak the same language. They should not be able to be from the same tribe. That was a known thing. So I don't know how this happened, but this particular group was brought over as a block, and they did not get separated at all. So I don't know if I think they were sneaking and communicating with each other. They knew the same language. They knew their gods. They knew their culture, and they did not get, okay, we're going to sell this person off here, we're going to sell this person off there, we're going to mix them in with these groups. They kept them all the same for some reason in South Carolina and North Carolina. So this group was able to keep a lot of things intact as far as language. Even to this day, they can speak the African dialect. They knew that their drums, the hoodoo and conjure and all that stuff, a lot of that stuff come from, from Africa, as we know. They're able to they know very specific things from Africa, even though they're 500 years removed as well. And that's why people study them, like anthropologists and sociologists. They study the Geechee tribe and the Geechee culture, because it's like, how do y'all remember all those things? That's because that group stuck together and they didn't separate. And even when Black people got free, this group still stuck together. Some people do have left. Some Geechees have left and come amongst the broader Black American culture, and they'll go to school, or they'll come move up north or whatever, and they'll might send a kid up there for the summer to go hang with whatever, the relative or whatever. But they stick together. They did own a lot of that land. They bought a lot of that land from the slave masters, and they or sometimes slave masters just gave it to them, and they were able to stay on those plantations and recultivate them and rebuild them into small villages. And they're still over there. They play the drums. They do things that are very similar to Africans. The food is even different. The clothing is even different. But these are Black Americans that have been here for a good 600 years as well, 500 years as well. So as you can see, this lady on the end, she's full Geechee. She is a Black American. And you see the shells in her head, or even how she's dressed, very still similar to, say the tribe in Africa or something. But this is a Black American. A lot of people don't even know about the Geechees. We grew up knowing about Geechees because of Gullah Island. Remember that show that we all watched as kids? Gullah Island, Gullah. Those were Geechees. They're a small island in South Carolina of tribes that are Black American, but they come off, they have you think that they're Caribbean, or you think that they're African. No, those are Black Americans. The second picture, once again, you see the clothing. These are Geechees. This is stuff that they've been wearing their whole life. Like, they're not trying to, oh, we're trying to act like Africans. No, this is stuff they've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. And on the end, you see another group of Geechees from the Gullah. Again, black Americans. And you see those pants that guy has on? When you see those pants, that's most likely, that's how you're going to be able to recognize them, because they dress different, but I can still tell them. Because when I was a kid, I seen them come with those pants on, with them type of colors on, and I knew they were Geechee. I remember I hear somebody say, "Oh, they Geechee." Like, you could hear an adult say, "Oh, that's that Geechee person," and we just knew that was like a Geechee person, and we knew that they were from the South. Like, that was the extent of it. And again, they were just visiting, and I've seen them dressed like this. So if you see a Geechee person or somebody from the Gullah with those pants on, or with them type of colors, like how you see these people and that skin color, and you see that texture, that's most likely a Geechee. They will tell you, and then they like to stick with their own anyways, but they don't mind being amongst black Americans, because again, we'll show you another picture. Here's the second picture of the Geechees. Now, you can clearly see the admixture. So some Geechees still kept their dark skin, but here, okay, let me tell you about the Geechees and the Gullahs. Another reason why they was able to keep their African mixture so potent, as far as, 97%, because they were fighters. I'm not saying black Americans weren't fighters, but I'm saying, like, these people were known for killing whoever would try to rape them. They were known for fighting, running away. It got even so bad, I told y'all in that one video, where the Gullah Wars, those were Geechee people. They call them the Seminole Wars. The Seminole Wars and the Gullah Wars are one and the same. And as you can see this picture up top, where they show these Gullahs killing the slave masters. That's pictures of the Gullahs doing that, because they really did do that. And guess what? The Seminoles were Gullahs and Indians. This history has been buried, because this was around the time when Abraham Lincoln was in office. So Abraham Lincoln knew that they was getting their ass smacked up by the Gullahs and Geechees. Like, it was really bad. Like, we're talking about, at this point it was hundreds of thousands, because then black Americans started joining the Gullahs to fight as well. And they give you that story of the Civil War. They tell you that story that Abraham Lincoln made the Emancipation Proclamation to free the slaves. They had to do that because the people up top, the elites, figured that's a better narrative than to say that the Gullahs and the Geechees and black Americans start fighting themselves up out of the war with the Indians, fighting themselves out of slavery. That is a way better narrative to spin in terms of Western pedagogy, in terms of building a narrative around, see, we had to free you. You didn't even free yourself. Well, that is not true at all. These Gullahs was putting in that work, and the Seminoles are Gullah Geechee people. And the war just got so bad because they were going to every plantation, killing the slave masters and saying, who want to come with us? You can stay here or you can join. And that was the only believe it or not, rebellion that was successful, because it was just so many. Go to each house, each plantation, kill the slave masters, and recruit. They kept doing that method. Go to each house, kill the slave masters, and recruit. So the numbers kept getting bigger, and bigger. So if you go to a plantation, even if y'all try to band up and even if the white people is trying to band up with their guns or whatever, we're talking about tens of thousands of slaves and Indians coming to rip your damn head off. So even still, it just didn't matter, and then you gotta figure they just had that shotgun. They ain't have like no automatic rifle or nothing like that just can just shoot out, nothing like that. So maybe one person would die, but by that time you got so many on your head that would grab that gun out your hand or jumped on your back and beat your ass, and now it's a wrap. So this is how the Gullahs was able to win. And all of this stuff about the Civil War, yeah, that really was a Civil War, because the South really did want to keep slaves, and the North wanted industrialization, and the North was taken off, and there was more incentive for America to go with the industrialization economics, as far as factories, and even getting those, all of that great migration stuff, that was all planned. Like that's plant stuff. That's not stuff that people did on their own. This is all orchestrated from the top, 50, 100 years in advance. But they figured, we're gonna have to stop this slavery shit because it's actually stifling the U.S. economy. But it would have stifled anyways, because there were tens of thousands of slaves killing their own slave masters at this time, and this stuff is purposely buried. And it started with the Gullahs. And again, these are Geechees, and you can tell by that clothing, and you can tell that that's just what it is. So let's continue. So now we're going to talk about the Creole group, which is the last group that we're going to talk about. The Creole group, they were basically the byproduct of I want to say Indian, French, and African. They're most likely found in Louisiana. The Creole, I don't want to botch their history, but they are multi-generationally mixed. They most of the time do have two quote-unquote black parents, but those black parents are also multi-generationally mixed. So let me explain. So say 100, 200 years ago, or even longer, their ancestors had got raped. They became biracial at that point. And instead of that biracial, and this is what happens in general. Usually, if there's a biracial person and that's a byproduct of a forced inception, they would get with a black or dark-skinned person, or a black another black American that was not maybe a byproduct of that, to get brown skin again. So that's how you get that brown skin again. But with these particular people, the Creole, they just got with one another. So if you're a byproduct of a rape and you're biracial, you get with another person that's a byproduct of a rape and they're biracial, you get together. Even though you're known as black politically in this country, those two people get together. Those two biracial people get together. They have children. That child is still biracial, and then that child is biracial, right? That child goes with another Creole person. Finds another biracial Creole person that they are raised with. They get together. They have a kid. That child is still biracial. So you get what I'm saying? So they'll have that one biracial person just kept on procreating with another biracial person over and over and over again. And then they develop their own cultures. They develop Creole. Some of them can speak French. Some of them practice voodoo because of that. The voodoo, the Benin ancestry that they have. And that's how you just keep getting Creole over and over and over again. And there's still that mixture of that Indian, African, and French. But that's what happened. So that's how the Creole group came into existence. And they are more brown skinned Creoles because some of those Creoles are mixing in like with a brown skinned black American or whatever. But for the most part, you're gonna see them look very light skinned and be multi-generationally mixed, meaning that they most likely are 50% European straight up and 50% black, even though they have two black parents. Those two black parents are politically black but genetically biracial, and then their grandparents were both genetically biracial. So the Creole group, they have a history of, I remember they wanted to petition the government to be recognized as different from Negroes or Black Americans. They wanted to create their own group, and we all pretty much know that this had happened. And the government said no, you're gonna still be enslaved. Like, even though they might have been house slaves, they were still enslaved. They were still denied. They were still lynched. They were still beaten and everything. But I guess they figure, well, we're biracial and we're still mixing with each other that are biracial, and we're only mixing with each other that are biracial. It's actually a rule to do it, and so we should be able to, be recognized as Creole. We should be able to be recognized as a separate group from the rest of the people because we are lighter. And the government said no, get your ass back out there with the rest of them, and you're getting smacked up too. So that happened a real long time ago, because the average Creole is not even self-hating like that. They don't even think like that anymore. And also the average Creole has done a lot for civil rights, and they did a lot of marching. They did a lot to contribute to the history of Black Americans. A lot of them become professors of Black history. They become doctors in the community. They have bought lots of land and stuff, and kept their culture real tight. And you don't see them be colorists, so this group, I think hundreds of years ago, may have been colorists, but now the average Creole person today, these multi-generationally biracial people, they are not, colorists. You don't really see much craziness coming from them, of like their ancestors try to pull that one stunt and failed, but for the most part they have accepted that they are Black American Creole, and it is what it is. So this is how they look. And once again, there's Black Americans that have people that look like this in their family, and they don't have Creole ancestry. It's just, once again, that multi-generationally mixed look. But like I was saying, the Black American, if they were a product of a forced inception, they would just get with a darker skin Black American who is who has more African blood to get brown skin again. And this is a fact, because my mom did it, and every Black person that I know, they usually have like insanely light-skinned people in their family that are older, that have gotten with darker skinned people, whether they were men or women. So that is the Creole group. We don't really know much about them as much as the Gullah. We just know that they I know that a lot of them are doctors. They tend to be more conservative, and that's just pretty much it. So this is the Black American, and you should be proud of yourself. You should accept yourself. There's nothing wrong with your admixtures. There's nothing wrong with how you came to be. There's nothing wrong with your genetics. So you should be very proud of your culture, very proud of your group of people. And of course, you should be proud of the Geechee and the Creole. You should be proud of the Black American in general. So this video was done so that the Black American can recognize one another. They can understand a phenotype. And we did this video so if someone comes among you and they don't look like them pictures that I showed you, as far as the Gullahs, the Creoles, the Black Americans that I showed you, if they don't look like that, you should be looking at them sideways. You should be looking at them like, okay, you're in our culture, you're coming amongst us, you are acting and talking like us, but if we see an ounce of disrespect, you gotta go, because you are not even a Black American. So we're not doing this cosplay thing and this tether thing and this body snatching, soul snatching thing that other groups are doing to our people, to my group of people. I find it extremely offensive. And the average Black American is not a scholar like me, and they're not a sociologist like me, so they're not able to see trends and patterns that I can see. I can see how people are cosplaying, even presidents, like literally cosplaying as Black Americans, actors, just the random person, the random diasporan that is coming amongst my group and then talking shit about my group behind our backs, or looking down on us for no damn reason. So we're going to break down all of that and nip it in the bud. Black American, you don't have to be around these people. We've been here for 500 years by ourselves, and no one came to our rescue. No one came to help us. So we really don't need any other group of people. If y'all want to be cool with us and y'all want to make amends and stuff with the diaspora, then that's fine. But we don't have any aversion to that. But as far as acting like we gotta be the ones to extend the olive branch every time in the face of disrespect, is just not happening anymore. So Black Americans, learn to appreciate yourself. And this last video, I'm going to show you why you need to concretize your culture, why you even need your identity even more, and you need to study your history. Watch all 20 videos, because all these videos are showing you what you've been through as a people. They're showing you your phenotype. They're showing you your sociology, your cultural values. This Black American series shows everything of your history and culture. So you need to study it, and you need to be willing to come amongst each other. Stop that self-hatred. Stop that feeling like, oh, we got to go to Africa. Yes, some of us are going to go. I'm going to go. Granted, they don't force us to, show a vaccine certificate in order to get on a plane or something. But, I would like to go. Many of us will still be able to go. That's not the problem. The point is, even if you do go over there, you need to still know that you're not going to most likely fit in with those locals. You need to be respectful to those locals and respectful to their culture, which you do. I have no problem doing, but you're going to have to get with other Black Americans too that's already over there. There are, I want to say, close to 100,000 Black Americans over in Africa right now. They're in Ghana, Tanzania, some of you are moving to Nigeria, so, and of course Senegal, even Rwanda. I'm like, what? Black Americans in Rwanda? So even if you take your ass over there, you need to be linking up with Black Americans that's already over there, and y'all need to stick together. You can go over there. Just know that you thinking you about to get your African life, it may not be that way. These people are cutthroat, and they do not see you as an African. They will see you as an outsider, and they will try to disrespect you if you don't know who you are. Do not take no disrespect from none of these people, whether you over there or over here. In this last video, I'm going to be addressing Black Americans and the African diaspora wars. I will be addressing it. Now, my goal is not to engage in a diaspora war. Now, a lot of people will take that as this whole series as me doing it. They're going to be offended. They're going to get jealous. They're going to do all types of things because the buck stops here. And I'm not trying to put anybody against one another. All I'm saying is, the Black Americans, you need to really focus on yourself. And you need to really embrace your own culture and your own history. And you need to know your history. So that's why I did this series. And I wanted other diasporas to know where we're coming from too. Study our history. Don't come over here and try to act like us and you don't know shit about our history. Study this 20 video series. Seriously. And as far as this last video is going to address that diaspora war. And I'm going to have proof of how Black Americans literally have no equivalency of the things that I'm going to show you. It is going to break your heart, and it was one of the reasons why I stopped with all of that African shit, because seeing that crap and then seeing the treatment. I've been around Africans my whole life. I have intermingled with them. I have dated Africans, and just seeing how they roll and seeing their own culture and the way they have Africa itself looking, there's no, I've just not taken no disrespect, from these people. And we're going to prove the obsession. We're going to prove the treachery. We're going to prove what's really this beef about. We're going to prove the reasons why this beef occurred. Why is it continuing? Who is continuing in it? Your eyes is going to really be open, Black American, in this last video. And you're not going to be talking about this pan-Africanist shit after, like how I was doing. I was doing the same thing. And y'all going to be looking real crazy when y'all see this last video, because I'm bringing that heat and I'm showing you the proof of what these people have been saying about us and what they have been doing to us. And if you want even just a little bit of more proof of what I'm talking about, go check out that video, NSARS, Black Americans versus Africans, and you will see the treachery. You will see how these people is really talking about you on the internet and amongst their own people. You will see it. And again, that is another reason why I wanted to do this series, because I was very disheartened by the way that my tribe is getting treated by this diaspora for literally no freaking reason. And then I started studying our history, and now I know why. And then I started studying their history and started looking into their countries and their culture, and I can clearly see why they are doing it. So we're gonna discuss that. We're gonna get real deep. This last video, it is gonna be a wig snatcher, and it is gonna just be telling the truth. This whole series, I've told the truth. I've showed you the history. I've showed you the culture. I've showed you the anthropology of our group, the sociology of our group in terms of what cultural values that we like, what are the things that we like to engage in. I showed you all this stuff, Black American. Now that you know this information, spread this information as much as possible and get the word out so that we can come together even more. And again, there's no hatred, no malice in my heart towards the rest of the African diaspora. I am annoyed by a lot of the stuff I see, but I know that it's something that could be easily fixed, and it's something that that could just be called out. Like it's not a reason to hate anyone. It's just more so I have a deep understanding of why you guys are doing this shit and pulling this stuff, and it will get called out. And just know that I have zero malice in my heart towards the African diaspora, because I was actually raised as a pan-Africanist. I was raised to not look down on Africans and Caribbeans, so my whole life I never did that. I don't even understand it. So to go around another group of people and to have them do that to me is very mind-boggling, when they own countries look crazy, like when certain things that they're doing is very toxic within their own culture. So they looking down on my culture when your culture is not all peachy clean either. In fact, I would argue it's even more sinister because of the things that you are engaging in while being in Africa, and the things that my people have been slaughtered. Literally, and I proved that for literally the last 300 years, my people have not been given a shake in this country, and we still got our asses up and continue to try our best against this system. So that's what I'll leave you with. Stay tuned for the last video in the Black American series, and I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Bye.